Gennady, straight back.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the win, and Abel and the whole team. But I wanted to know from you. We talked about it the other day in your hotel when we were there with some other guys about this was number 20 defense. Can you give your reaction and your thoughts about tying Bernard Hopkins' all-time middleweight championship defense record? And Tom and Abel, if you want to chime in also.
Oh, this is a huge situation for me. Just seriously, this is a record. Probably, maybe I'm not understand 100% right now. Just maybe in the future. Maybe my sons, he tell me, hey, wow, this is huge. Just all fans. Just seriously, my brother Max, so many people sent him message. So just congratulations. Just your record is huge. Thank you people who support me and support boxing, of course.
Abel has a little more historic perspective, I think.
Well, I think that, well, first of all, we're very proud of the fact that he's accomplished this. It's been a difficult road. It's been at times a trying, very trying times, but to tie the record with this kind of performance, I think signifies the greatness that we're all witnessing right now. This reign, or these 20 have been with no rematches. These 20 have been against completely new opponents every time. And I think it's significant and it's important to note that.
I agree. I agree 100%. Bernard Hopkins is legendary. He fought as long as he did, and one of the longest careers in the sport of boxing. Tremendous physical specimen, and for Triple G to tie his record, what he accomplished in the middleweight division, I think most people thought that record would never be touched. Now for Gennady to tie it, and you saw his hunger, his motivation. I think he was happy to just be in the ring. He wants to stay active. He told me he wants to fight 2 more times this year. So Triple G fighting on a regular basis. That's very hungry, motivated. He just turned 36.
26.
I feel like 26.
He looks like 26. He just turned 26. And the way he fought in there, he fought like he was 26. So I think if he continues these type of performances, we're going to see many more knockouts, many more fights, and I think he's going to write history every time he steps in the ring. Kevin?
Gennady, the other day you talked about, you said you put a 10% chance of fighting Canelo in September. Now tonight in the ring when Max asked you, you said absolutely you would fight him. So is it 10% or is it absolutely that you're going to fight him?
Okay, 10% is a lot. I'm ready. I'm ready. I want to fight May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. I'm ready 100%. I give him a lot, options. Look, my situation and Canelo's situation right now, just I give him a lot percent. I think nobody have more percent. Maybe like everybody has like 5%. Of course, he's my priority.
Do you feel like, have you been? The hair follicle test that came out, do you believe that he didn't cheat, that it was contaminated meat, and are you over that, or do you still think he was cheating and took PEDs intentionally?
I think what we should do, Kev, is since the Nevada Commission did their investigation, we're not really privy to all those. We know he did a hair follicle test. We know he's tested many times since his 2 positive tests. But anything else would be speculation on our part. I mean.
No, absolutely.
Tom, he has been very adamant about this, and it's not you've been outspoken, Gennady, about your opinion, so I think it's fair to ask you what you believe. Other people said what they believe, and now that this fight is over and that fight is out there for you, do you feel he cheated, and would you fight him given that?
Of course I believe, of course I want. My job is very small, I'm a fighter. Of course I'm ready.
To go, Kevin, to go to that 10% question, that's when reporters were asking him, he's trained to fight Vanes, and they're saying, well, what percentage chance are you going to give to fight Canelo? He's focused 100% on Vanes on Saturday, so naturally he's going to say, that's his priority. Look, the rematch with Canelo is the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. Both of them made career-high paydays. We set the record for the 3rd highest gate in Las Vegas. That's the type of rematch. Some rematches go downhill. This is the type of rematch. as you hit on, with Canelo's positive test, Gennady was very outspoken, but he felt disrespected. He was the one that, because of Canelo's test, now all of a sudden his whole situation changed. And most likely, the odds were against him fighting May 5, and that would have been a disaster for him. So that's why he was frustrated. He was very edgy. It was during the middle of training camp, and he was outspoken. But you saw Canelo's reaction to some of Gennady's comments, and that whole promotion hit a fevered pitch. You know, people, after it looked like the fight wasn't happening, people were still buying tickets. You know, the MGM was calling me and saying, you know, instead of refunds, people were still buying tickets. So, you know, the ticket sales were on pace to break the number that we did on the first fight. Pay-per-views, interest, HBO said it was a much higher interest level than the first fight. And then we think if that fight happens, it's not a guarantee, but if that fight happens, it'll be a much bigger fight even than the second fight, especially if Canelo decides to fight in the second fight, like Abel said.
Tom, just to add one more thing, ask a question. Derevyanchenko's situation, the IBF belt. Gennady, can you address fighting him as opposed to Canelo, because you may lose your IBF belt if you don't fight him?
I think that's another question for the promoter. We filed, the IBF granted our request for exception it was specifically to fight a non-sanctioned opponent. Vanes wasn't in the ratings, but Derevyanchenko is not in any other ratings either. He's in the IBF ratings, but not in the WBC, WBA ratings. And Vanes was number one in the WBC, so they granted our exception with conditions. Some of the conditions need clarifying, so Pat English on Triple G's behalf filed an appeal of that, not of the ruling that they granted for him, but of the conditions. We need to clarify the conditions because some of the conditions actually go against their existing rules. So once we get the response from the IBF, then we'll see what happens with that. I mean, Gennady is proud of all of his titles. He doesn't want to lose the IBF title. He worked hard to gain all the titles. You know, we'll see what happens with Canelo. We'll see what happens with the IBF. And then we'll probably have a better answer within the next week or 2 weeks once the IBF answers that appeal, and then once we see how the discussions with Canelo goes.
Gennady, over here. So with the results tonight, the impact that you had on the ring and everything, is that the message that you're trying to send to Canelo? If eventually one of those two fights that you want to fight this year is with him, is that the message that we're learning from you tonight?
No.
He doesn't want to scare him.
I like my job, you know, it's my job.
So you're not sending a message to
No,
Canelo?
because, you know, if I send him message, I know he'll fight in September.
Gennady.
Esta pregunta es por favor para Abel y si le puedes preguntar a Golovkin y traducir. Creo que lo más importante para ustedes era no perder el entrenamiento, seguir con el ritmo rumbo a lo que esperamos todos, esa revancha. ¿Qué significa para ustedes haber peleado y no perder ese ritmo como equipo?
Gee, it was very important for us not to lose the training that we were doing. It was very important for you to fight and do this for the fans. What do you think you gained by fighting tonight?
First of all, I want to tell congratulations all people, Mexican people like Cinco de Mayo, to a huge day, seriously. Like boxing fans, you know. I come back, just I bring my career records back, just people love it, this situation, you know, this. It's more interesting right now. This is first step. Sometimes, yeah, I understand. Maybe Vanes is not world class. No, everybody wants second fight, second step. Of course I want too. It's very important for me and for boxing, for everything. Just, I'm ready. Just let's do it in September.
Gennady.
Y tú, Abel, por favor, tu respuesta, si eres tan amable.
No, era muy importante no perder lo que ya teníamos un mes, casi 5 semanas en entrenamiento. Era importante para que pudiésemos pelear 3 veces este año. Si no peleamos el 5 de mayo, entonces ya vamos a pelear a lo mejor nomás 2. Si esperamos a que otros o la carrera de otros nos controle nuestra carrera, entonces no va a pelear más que una vez al año, y eso es lo que no él lo quiere.
Golovkin, Vanes, according to Vanes, he said that your team told him he was the hardest puncher you faced.
How do you compare his punches compared to your other opponents?
Everybody's strong. This is boxing. Come on.
Gennady, if the fight with Canelo can't happen, do you want to face the WBC mandatory Jermall Charlo next?
Absolutely. I won't for anybody. Absolutely. Just right now, it's a more interesting situation in the middleweight division. So many great people is coming. Just more interesting.
Abel, quick question. We didn't get to see a lot of Gennady. Are you happy with what you saw tonight in a short burst?
I think I'm happy with the response we got from the crowd. I think I'm extremely happy with the response we got when we walked in. The fans want to see Gennady fight. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 round or 10 rounds. They just want to see a fight. And Gennady gives the fans what they want to see. Gennady gives them the kind of fight that they expect and not a dance.
A ver, tú estuviste preparando, por supuesto, a Golovkin todo este tiempo para Canelo y se presentó este percance con el Femuterol. Pero a modo personal, ¿tú crees que sería fair con los fans de tener esa pelea eventualmente a modo personal tuyo? ¿De tener esa pelea
Canelo?
eventual con Canelo?
Dice, todo depende de él. Hasta este momento no está haciendo ni un test con Vada. Hasta este momento. Oscar está diciendo que todos los días lo van a hacer test. ¿Cuándo va a comenzar? ¿Va a comenzar cuando ya le den la licencia? Es importante para que él aclare con el público y con nosotros también que es limpio, que no está haciendo nada mal y que no hizo nada mal.
Gennady, how nice was it for you to not have a fighter kind of stand in front of you, just like you said he was going to do, and fight you? Not like box or
Move around.
yeah, move around.
This is boxing. This is true business. This is very serious business. This is not game. You know, look, my first round, just now, I don't have to give him more chance.
Did you know the finish was coming?
I feel
Start feeling it?
I feel it, yeah. My distance, my power, you know, just.
Hey, Gennady, can you talk a little bit about the community here in LA, the Latinos embracing you? How do you feel that on Cinco de Mayo?
It's very important. This is my family, you know. Just my team stay with me. My team support boxing. You know, it's a big gift I think to people. If I don't come into this fight, just we'll lose a lot of time. Just maybe, hopefully, we'll come back only in September. It's not 100%. You know. Just I want to stay activity. Just thank you very much, my team, people who support boxing. You know, just this is not bad day today.
Gennady, you said that there's a possibility you might fight in September. Tom, there's also talk about possibly taking Gennady to fight in Japan with Murata. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunities for Gennady. You know, Murata's one of those guys who's really blazing a trail, selling out arenas in Japan, getting tremendous ratings on television in Japan. He's the WBA mandatory, and you know, that would be a great fight as well. I think there's a lot of different options. I think, as Gennady said, the biggest fight is with Canelo, but you know, now it just seems like the middleweight division is opened up, and it actually seems that these guys want to fight Triple G. You know, before they would scatter for the hills, and you know, just touching on the support here from the Los Angeles community and the Hispanic community. I mean, Triple G is a resident of Los Angeles now. You know, both of. You know, I mean, his daughter was just born here recently in Los Angeles, and his son plays hockey here in Los Angeles. So, you know, he embraces the welcome. It's unheard of for a big promotion like this on HBO to be promoted on 2.5 weeks' notice, and to break the record, to shatter the record here at the StubHub Center, where so many great fighters have fought, so many great fights have fought, with attendance and with the revenue, just shows how the Los Angeles, the Southern California community embraces him. I think he's, you know, whether he sells out Madison Square Garden, whether he sells out T-Mobile, the O2, this is now the 9th time he's fought and had a sold out. I mean, we had bleachers, but it was a packed house. Lance, you had a question?
Yeah, do you have any talks scheduled this coming week, or when are you going to talk with the Golden Boy people about a Canelo fight next?
I mean, I've been in contact with Eric. You know, first step was to find out exactly how long Canelo was suspended for. You know, that was clarified by the Nevada Commission. There seems to be a lot of interest on their side. Naturally, there's interest on our side. We have Dan Beckerman here, the head honcho of all the AEG properties, including StubHub Center, including Staples Center, including T-Mobile, the O2, the list goes on and on. Look, you know, I've been in regular contact with Golden Boy and with Eric, and you know, if there's a way to make that fight happen, you know, again, this is a fight where both guys have a huge incentive to make the rematch. Gennady feels, the whole team actually feels it was a bad decision the first time around. He feels he could have done better. The way he fought tonight, whether it was against Bonas or somebody else, he looked razor sharp tonight. You know, his speed, his timing, his distance. You know, I think we didn't necessarily see that exact sharpness against either Jacobs or Canelo, and a lot of it had to do with the style of them wanting to, you know, basically survive more than actually fight. But at the same time, you know, Gennady's been in there with other boxers that have moved a lot and looked very dominant and impressive, just like he did against Canelo.
And just one quick follow-up for Abel. Abel, you were pretty hard on Canelo about his retreating style in the fight in September. How do you think he'll be perceived if he tries to wiggle away from a rematch with Gennady in September by his fan base?
Well, just the fact that he still has failed to enroll in any kind of program to be tested, I think that just puts that fight so much farther away. I think that they're both, if it happens, are both in a state of mind that they're both mad at each other for the things that have been said, and I think that they're going to go at each other. This could be a much better, a more attractive fight for the fans. But I think he needs to do his part, as Gennady's doing his part, and that is with the testing. At least try to prove to the public and to the journalists that he's making an effort to show us that he's clean.
Is that a condition for you to even sit down with them at the table against the goal in Nevada?
Well, it's not. That's not my call. That would be Gennady's call. But that's why when Dan asked about or Kevin or whoever was asked about the 10%, that's the reason that comment came out. It was because Canelo's side is not doing enough to try to make the fight.
But my question is, if you're going to sit down and negotiate, would that be a condition?
Norm, that would be absolutely a condition. Gennady's been VADA testing now since February, beginning of February. He's never failed a test. You know, if we're negotiating, Canelo's going to test, and Gennady's going to continue to test.
Step one.
Absolutely, and I do have to say that Eric said that wouldn't be an issue. So if we signed the agreement, then Canelo's going to test. You know, this last test was done earlier than the first fight. You know, so that's something that Abel insisted on, even for this fight. You know, it would have been an unfair advantage. Gennady's doing all this testing, proving he's a clean athlete, and then you come in with a replacement opponent on short notice. Who knows what they're doing? And that's going to be something that he gave. You know, he gave an unfair advantage, or actually, you know, the Danny Jacobs fight was an unfair advantage due to weight. But there's no reason to put a champion like Gennady, who follows all the rules, into a situation where there is an unfair advantage. And frankly, testing these days is 100% necessary when you have a fight on this scale, at this magnitude. Whether you're in Mexico training, whether you're in Big Bear training, wherever you're training, you have to be responsible for whatever goes in your body. Can you imagine, and Abel made a great point, can you imagine with Gennady's punching power, had he tested positive? Can you imagine the outcry that would be of what happened? How did it get in the system? And Gennady says he eats steak all the time up in Big Bear, California. In fact, Mexican steak. There's a hacienda, a restaurant called the Hacienda, right across the street from Abel's gym. And he eats there all the time, and never had any issues. So, you know, we understand the responsibility for competing at boxing at this level, and that would absolutely be a condition for a rematch.
Abel, Gennady, how would a fight have went between you and Bernard Hopkins in your primes?
That would have been a great fight in their primes. I think that Gennady's power would have been the difference, but Bernard was a great champion at 160.
Yeah, very interesting for me too.
How many more fights, realistically?
I want to say what you did walking in the ring was exceptionally classy. Greeting your fans and your long entrance. And two, can you rank the top 5 160 pounders in your opinion?
It is hard for me. So many great people. I can't.
You know, there's 5 or 6 very, very good fighters. It's hard to rank them because they haven't fought. I would say once Charlo fights Jacobs, if that fight happens, I think that will determine a position. But there's Derevchenko, there's Jacobs, there's Andre that's moving up, Murata, who's doing very well in Japan. There's a lot of very good fighters, and it's difficult to.
Canelo.
Styles make fights. Who?
That redheaded guy.
You worked with Gennady for the last 7 or 8 years. To this day, are you amazed or does it not surprise you the punching power that Gennady has?
No, I don't know if Robert Morales is in here, but when I first, I went to school with Robert Morales, was one of you guys. But when I first got Gennady, probably about 8 months after I got him, and we did, I think, 2 fights by then, I sent an email to Robert telling him that I had the next great middleweight that was going to set all kind of records, and you could tell just in not only the punching power, but the IQ. You would show him something, you would ask him to do something, never question anything. He would do exactly what you ask him and master it so quickly that we knew that it was going to be just a matter of time before people started to notice.
Gennady, would you ever let your son be a boxer?
He has different plans.
Gennady, I see your knuckle looks kind of red. Were your hands,
my nerves.
Your hands okay? Or?
No, it's my nerves like that. Of course I agree.
Golovkin, throughout your career, you've expressed a lot of comments about going after the belts. If Canelo's not doing VADA, would you rather go after BJ Saunders to unify the division, or would you still pursue Canelo for September?
Where's better for me? For my team. I check.